our soul knows we are spirit in every facet of our lives. Ooh, celebration. Talk to me, talk to me. Yes, that is just awesome. Do you know why I'm here? You do? Thank you, Frank. Thank you. Thank you. I am here to support you in awakening anew. That's why I'm here. And so celebration does some magic, right? They come out, they do their thing, and it's like, ooh, don't you just feel yourself like going, ooh, 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 opening up just, ooh, a little bit, right? And it's like, oh, talk to me, yes, talk to me. Come on, Spirit, talk to me, right? And then, hopefully I'll say something good and interesting that will click somewhere deep inside of you. And you'll leave here either inspired or changed or in contemplation or maybe even a little uncomfortable. Say, what? Yes, because that's part of spiritual growth, to be uncomfortable, right? Because then we go, ooh, I'm gonna have to do something with that. Spiritual growth. And so what we're going to do this month is we are going to be talking about indigenous spirituality. We're going to be talking about the gratitude for the abundance of Mother Earth. That's what we're going to be talking about. And I'm telling you that this indigenous spirituality was here before any organized religion, way before. And I'm going to let you in on a secret. Did you know your minister practiced Wiccan for about 5 years? Yeah, about 5 years. I was a Wicca practitioner. So if you get a chance to read my book, which is Turning Your Why into Why Not, you will get to read about my very confusing heritage of Christianity versus earth-based spirituality. You know, my mom and my gran, they were fundamental Christians. So they were very literal in their interpretation of the Bible. And there was so much fear with them in Christianity in that they didn't want to go to hell. Let's face it, right? They didn't want to go to hell. And so they were really concerned about the sins that could happen against God that would block them from getting into heaven. But in the meantime, their soul really found joy and empowerment and mysticism in indigenous spirituality. So on one hand, they Bible thumped, right? And on the other hand, in secret, they had spiritual practices that weren't condoned by religion. Imagine me, a Catholic school kid, going to Catholic school every Sunday, or every day I'm going to school, every Sunday I'm going to Mass. The internal dissonance was really huge. Now, as many of you know, once I left Catholicism, I really studied and practiced a lot of different religions. And I was probably about my mid-30s when I started feeling this call to study Wicca. Now, where does Wicca come from? It's a pagan, labeled a pagan religion, and it came up in the mid-1950s in England. But if you dig deeper, what you'll realize is that it comes from indigenous spirituality, indigenous traditions. So just like in Christianity, we have different sects, right? Presbyterian, Methodist, blah, 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 blah. So too, in Wicca, there are different sects. Now, when I practiced Wicca, I didn't have a coven. We weren't dancing around the maypole. There was no nakedness. You know, all those things that go through your head when you hear something about paganism. I practiced solely, right? I practiced as a solitary practitioner of Wicca. And I embraced the Dianic Wicca, which is all about the goddess, Mother Earth, nature. And then I blended in the universal energy that is God. love, and wisdom. Why? Because I was studying unity at the time as well. Hello? Yes. So why did I do this? Because what I found when I practiced Wicca was that it allowed me to be grounded in the physicality of this planet, honoring the duality that we are both human and spiritual. And then there was I felt like I was creating mystical unity, is what I felt like I was creating. And I loved all of the rituals. I loved the incense and the smell of the incense, or being out in nature or the ocean, and just being like immersed in the ocean and doing a practice of just communing, knowing that I was doing my part to heal Mother Earth and heal the universe, all in this sacred ceremony. Now, I know for some of you it may seem really incongruous to be unity and Wicca, or to practice Wicca and still believe in the oneness. But really, indigenous spirituality is not about being a religion. Did you hear me? It's not about a religion. It's simply embracing spiritual laws and being in alignment with Mother Earth while honoring nature. This reality comes from a book that I found that I really love, which is Think Indigenous, and it's by Doug Goodfeather. He says this: indigenous spirituality is both a practice and a way of life. No political party controls it, and no religious dogma dictates it. You can practice any religion and also identify with indigenous spirituality. As we learn to think indigenous, we're learning the principles of honor and compassion for all beings, and how to integrate these principles into our daily life so that we can experience a powerful and beautiful relationship with the people and world around us. How cool is that? And as I continued to practice Wicca, what I was realizing is that it was just becoming more and more about indigenous spirituality. I loved that connection. I loved being in the energy fields and feeling the earth breathe and contract. I love that connectedness where I knew I was part of everyone and everything on the planet. It's palpable. And all of the gifts that I received were so much greater than anything that I could possibly give. You see, when we honor indigenous practices, suddenly we are not so concerned only about ourselves. We tap into the truth that we are here to live in harmony with the earth and with each other. We get clear in who we are and who we're supposed to be. What's our purpose? We tap into our intuition, the wisdom of the universe, the sacredness of all we interact with, whether it's human, animal, vegetable, or mineral. We walk in the world with the intention of restoration. Imagine that, walking in the world with the intention of restoration. That we are going to create balance in the modern world, in nature, adhering to the laws of the universe, and honoring and tapping into ancestral wisdom. Now, it doesn't matter what path you choose, right? Indigenous cultures, what do we know? They just spring up from where people resided, right? So it could be Native American, it could be Yoruba, it could be shamanism, Toltec, whatever. Whatever you practice or whatever you feel drawn to, the understanding is there's this knowing that spirituality cannot be separated from our everyday lives. It's just a part of who we are. Now, most of us have lost the connection with that knowing that comes from our ancestors. We've all migrated all over the place, some by choice, some by force. But we've moved away from our homes and that spiritual wisdom. I gotta tell you, I can remember the times that my grandmother, she would be telling me about, what herbs and plants to use for what purpose. Did I roll my eyes every time? Yes, I did. And then because I thought I was so clever. Oh, well, let me tell you, in the modern world, we use aspirin for that, right? And here we are now. We are becoming the ancestors, my friends. We are the ancestors of our children, of our children's children, nieces, nephews, mentees. And most of us have lost touch with just the rhythm of the planet and our own ancestors' wisdom. So I'm proposing, not that you ditch unity, that is not what I'm saying. This is about an expansion, and possibly finding how to be in a good way. Now, in a good way is a term used, and it talks about that if we live a life rooted in nature-based spirituality, right, it means that we are on a virtuous path of learning universal truth and sacred virtues. Then in a good way means that our daily actions and behaviors are in alignment with those teachings, morals, and virtues. Daily alignment. You see, what they're calling for is clarity, my friends. A call to stand in truth, not be swayed by whatever is trending on TikTok. Nope. Not to be swayed by what our friends are doing. Not to be swayed about what political candidates are talking about. Not to be swayed by religious leaders and their dogma, right? We are not for sale. We are not for sale. Truth isn't bendable. Honor has meaning and purpose. So that means that we're really clear that pillaging the earth through destroying the environment for profit and greed, that's not holy. That's not sacred. We embrace the wisdom that says, oh, maybe dumping radioactive chemicals or toxic chemicals that make the land inhabitable, not habitable, right? For others, may not be a sustainable way for Mother Earth. And we become interrelated and interconnected with everything and everyone. A few years ago, I got to this gift to go into a Native American sweat lodge, and Graham was with me. And of course, we picked the summer solstice to do this, hottest day of the year, thank you very much. And we go in, but it's so sacred and it's so powerful, and it's like these big rocks get heated, you know, and they call the rocks the grandfathers. The grandfathers. Imagine that. Rocks having that kind of honor and sacredness about everything. So, being indigenous asks us to be mindful of how we consume because we know that it's going to impact the earth. We are being called to be good stewards. We are saying yes to be on this path of taking action on behalf of Mother Earth. We're here to stand up for her and to call out injustices against Mother Earth. That's what we're here to do. We're here to be in alignment. But here's the thing. Also in indigenous knowledge is the knowing that there is only one great spirit, one divine energy. So Good Feather, he comes from the line of the Lakotas, and here's what they think about the Creator. The Creator, the Great Spirit, is every single thing, and the space between every single thing and the possibility and potential of every single thing. As the physical form of a spiritual being, each of us is fully realized manifestation of the Creator that we chose to co-create. And our purpose in life is to express ourselves as the highest and best version of this life we choose. I'm sorry, does that not sound like unity, unity principles 1 through 3? Because that's what it sounds like to me, right? Because our principles, we say there is only one presence and one power in the universe, right? God the good. And who are we? We are each of God. We are each good. And what do? We co-create the world. Now, in Lakota tradition, there is no hell or special requirements to get into heaven. Once the soul passes on from the body, there is a knowing that they're simply reuniting back to oneness. What do we believe? Oneness, right? Okay, just checking. But what I find really interesting in this conversation is that people who are spiritually disconnected from Source, whose souls are yearning for purpose and sacredness, have created institutions that mimic God. Right? So these are the very people so filled with uncertainty and fear who create religions with rules, regulations, reward, and punishment of a God in their image. All done with the hopes that they've created some kind of safety and predictability in their lives. It's really like a psychological thriller, right? Because you go, well, this is Christianity, isn't it? And then you watch the outpicturing of it and you're like, wait, that doesn't really sound like Christianity or anything else, right? Because what we're awakening to is the reality that the construct of God in many religions is really a projection of our own characteristics onto a deity. Is that deep? I thought it was. I don't know. So what is projection? It's a psychological term that explains what happens when a person projects their own qualities, feelings, behaviors onto another person. So in this scenario, we as human beings believe life needs to be safe and predictable, and we get there if there are rules, regulations, reward, and punishment. And then we project that onto the divine, onto the creator of our understanding. Our soul constantly yearns for oneness, constantly yearns for connection. It unconsciously drives us. And we find various ways from our intellect, from being here on the planet, to connect from that understanding. It's almost like this need to control our soul so it doesn't go amok and just goes and loves everyone and then forgets we're here to have success and goals. And so if we put this kind of thing in place, we can kind of triage and compartmentalize when our soul knows we are spirit in every facet of our lives. So I'm here to just say that God is already here and creating here, and all we need to do is tune into it. Goodfeather says this: if we listen to the universe, it will remind us of a journey of spirituality where we may discover that we too have an original design and that we naturally fit into divine relationships, sacred roles that have already been set in place by the Creator. So this month, what we're going to do is we're going to really focus on indigenous practices, simply to open up your awareness, simply to expand your consciousness. Imagine being clear that every movement that you make is sacred, is holy, is of restoration. So that's what we're going to be working on this month. And if you're thinking, I don't want to give up my religion, you don't have to give up anything. I'm not asking you to give up anything, right? So if you find comfort in certain religious understanding, that's great, keep it. You don't have to give it up. It's an and. We often forget that in our logical minds, that when we bring something in, it's not oh, okay, my computer's full, no more memory, danger, I can't take this in because I got to release something. We don't have that problem. We can keep taking in as much as we need and want, and those things that don't serve us anymore, we just let them go, right? So I'm hoping that this journey will allow you to really tap into the sacredness of this universe. So Are you ready for like an immense download? That didn't sound like they were ready, did it? I was like, wait, what? Was that 4 people? All right, you 4 can stay for the meditation afterwards, but are you ready for an immense download from God? All right, now we're talking.